Hey everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Power Season 4, Episode 2, which was titled Things Are Going to Get Worse. And get worse, they definitely did, because not only did Ghost find that last episode that he was going to be denied bail, well, they really came and laid the hammer down in this episode. So let's go ahead and get started. Poor Ghost, he has to be mentally strong and prayed up to survive this ordeal that he is about to go through. So Proctor goes to see Ghost, and I am so ready for Charlie Murphy to go, because he is just, oh my God, he is like the fly at the picnic at this point. He just won't go away. Just go away. Go away, Charlie. We over you. Then I saw, this is on a totally different topic, but I saw a preview for it's either a new show coming on or a movie that's about to come out. But Charlie Murphy is in that movie, and this just goes to show that when death comes, it doesn't care what season of your life that you're in. When it's time to go, it's time to go. So get up every day and live your dreams and live life to the fullest, because God ain't waiting on you. Death ain't waiting on you. And when your number comes, your day comes, it's done. It's a wrap. And it doesn't matter if you finally reached your dream and everything is coming to fruition. If you waited too long to get it out there, then it's just too bad. So after Charlie leaves the room, because he had to bring Ghost into the waiting room to speak with the lawyer, Proctor asks Ghost, did he fight back when the police officers beat him up? Because, it was obvious that something had happened to him. And actually, when the show first came on, I couldn't tell if he had spit blood into the toilet or if he had used the bathroom and the blood came through his urine or whatever. But, he was being strong, and Ghosts kind of act like a Muslim, like they get all deep into their spiritual being and nothing phases them. So he's utilizing some of those practices as he goes through this season in prison. So Ghost lets him know that he didn't fight back, and besides, it was two of them, and his hands were handcuffed, so he couldn't have fought back if he wanted to. And so Proctor, lets him know that he's happy that he didn't try to fight back, because he has to keep that James St. Patrick persona going and act like, he's an innocent businessman who's being falsely accused of a crime, and he can't show any of his, special techniques and moves on the people. So he tells Ghost that they are building a strong case against him with the fingerprints and the DNA that was under Knox's fingernails. And I'm still not trying to understand that, because now I'm trying to wonder, when Knox had stopped him on the side of the road that day, did he touch Ghost? Did they interact with Ghost's DNA would have ended up under his fingernails? I can't remember. So he's basically, just letting Ghost know that it's not going to be as simple as they thought it was going to be, that they're really trying to build a case against him, and so he needs to be prepared for the worst. So then Ghost thinks that they should reveal that him and Angela, were having an affair, and Proctor lets him know that would only prove the government's case against her, because now you're giving them motive that, that he was acting as a jealous lover because Angie had went back to Knox. And meanwhile, the Keystone cops over there at the Fed building, they're trying to get John to throw Angela under the bus, and while they're dogging her out to him, Angela's listening at the door, and she's really looking surprised that they are stabbing her in the back. And I'm thinking, girl, you can't be that dumb. So John tells them that, it's a horrible idea, because they all knew that Angela had compromised the case by sleeping with James St. Patrick. And so that kind of got them all involved, because they knew, and they left her on the case and didn't say anything or reprimand her for doing it. And then when Angela, finally goes into the room, John starts grilling her about the affair, and just was like, I'm thinking she should have felt this small when he was talking to her, because he was like, you was sleeping with St. Patrick, you was sleeping with Knox, you was going back and forth, you was giving information, and then he was asking her were you going to meet not ghost, you going to meet St. Patrick during office hours when you should have been working, and were you using credit cards? And he was just really like shaving her down to the bare meat. And then she had to sit there in front of, all the other guys, while he's grilling her. And I'm just like, oh my God. So then there was like just the positioning it with Ghost as he's talking to Proctor and telling Proctor, how him and Angela should spend as much time together as they could. And Proctor was pointing out the fact that you left your wife and kids to be with this woman. And then, y'all broke up and she got back with Knox and she was playing to both of y'all. And so I'm just like, I don't know how this is going to work out for either one of y'all. So as the stories were unfolding, it was apparent that neither team wanted to use the affair as their defense. And so Ghost would like straight up look crazy and obsessed with the side chick, that he's loved since he was a kid. And Angela would be seen as a threat to the Bureau itself and, having placed her colleagues and the case in jeopardy and can't be trusted ever again. And then she would probably get disbarred, as a result of her involvement. So Ghost, he gave up his life, to be with Angela, and Angela was feeding Ghost information, and it was just too intertangled. And like Proctor said, it would end up looking like a soap opera on TV. Like people would be watching that trial like it was a reality TV show. So Proctor starts interrogating Ghost, and he says that he asked Ghost something, and Ghost said, "I would never kill someone in law enforcement." And then Proctor was like, "Oh, but you have killed someone before." And then Ghost was sitting there, and I'm thinking, oh my Lord, see, this is why defendants should never testify on their own behalf. Let the prosecution prove their case. Don't get on the stand and prove it for them. So Ghost is not ready at all to go to trial. He ain't ready to be testifying in his own defense. And Proctor, I hope you know what you're doing because this man is going to need all the help that he can get. So both Proctor and John, show that there are so many opportunities for everyone to perjure themselves. And I think Proctor told Ghost that if he testified and perjured himself in this case, if they brought another case against him, then he would never be able to testify on his own defense, once you've been found guilty of perjury. And then John was telling the other fools over there, I call them the Keystone Cops, he was telling them that they have already perjured themselves because they knew what was going on and didn't say anything. And so it's really going to come down to a battle between John and Proctor because these two obviously have some history together. And Proctor, no, it wasn't Proctor. And then John, when he got up and walked out the room, he told them that he tired of losing to Proctor. So I can't wait till their whole story unravels itself. So Proctor tells Ghost, to just continue to act like, he's James, to start making phone calls from the prison phone and just continue to pretend like he's an innocent businessman. So after he leaves, Ghost calls Dre, who is running things at the club and training the staff, on running drugs through the club, which if Ghost ever finds out, he's going to kill Dre if Tommy ain't already killed him by the time he gets out. And so he lets Ghost know that he has everything under control and he's cultivating the relationship with Karen Bassett, that they see each other, either talk to each other, almost daily. And Ghost like, daily? He said, yeah, daily, because her husband was concerned and he wanted to pull out the deal, but I smoothed everything over. And so Dre, he's talking about the club and how they've been in the news, and he has DJs booked out for months to come. And so he's really feeling himself. But like I say, when Ghost finds out he's running drugs through that club, it's going to be a real issue. And he is going to flip out on Dre if he can get his hands on him. Then we had a scene where Ghost is in it wasn't a cafeteria. It was like some tables in the middle of the prison cells or something. But anyway, he's sitting there eating a biscuit when this guy comes over. He was like, oh, you're the guy that own all those clubs that be on the TV. And so he told Ghost that he was hungry, and he took his biscuit and bit off the biscuit. And so he was talking about, you looking real pretty with them baby brown eyes. And then he slid on over next to Ghost and start rubbing his hands all on his shoulder. And I'm just like, ooh, how nasty. But honey, before we could blink, Ghost had done broke homeboy arm. Dude never knew what happened. And so the Tariq guy, he was standing behind Ghost, like witnessing the whole thing. And he was looking like, well, who the hell is this Negro? Like, I need to find out who this is and why the government, is trying to get him. And so he basically told the other guy, stop whining and going on about your business. So homeboy had taken his little broke arm and hobbled on off. And then Teresa's wife came to visit him, and so she's letting him know that, her health is getting really bad, and so this was going to be the last time that she could come see him because she can't make the drive by herself. And she was telling him, when are you going to get the money so I can do the experimental drugs? And he told her that, he was sorry, but the money didn't come through. Then she tried to lay like a guilt trip on him and was like, see, this is why I wish I had gave you a baby, because, if we had kids, they would be taking care of me right now, instead of me being out here going through this on my own. So, of course, he started feeling bad and started thinking, okay, well, maybe, I can come up with the money, just hold tight and we'll see what we can do. So it looks like, Teresi may be willing, to save his wife and give her a little more time. He may be willing to go ahead and take the deal to be the confidential informant for John. But then we had another scene where his lawyer came to see him and was basically had gotten the information that he needed on James St. Patrick's. And he mentioned Tommy. Now, when he mentioned Tommy, Teresi kind of like perked up. And I'm thinking, okay, let me find out that the Teresi guy is going to be Tommy's dad. And then he's going to work in cahoots. Now, y'all know I'm a writer. So y'all know this stuff just be going through my mind as I'm watching. Like all the different directions that they can go. So I'm thinking that the Teresi guy is going to end up working as the confidential informant, but he's going to be doing it to help Tommy and Ghost, not to help the prosecution. And then he also mentioned that John was actually on his case, and he dropped his case to go and work on Ghost's case, which I think was mentioned in episode 1. And so while Proctor was talking to Ghost when he was there visiting him, he said that he was going to go and start talking about the case to the media to kind of like get the sympathy to come over to their side. So he holds up his promise and he goes out and he's talking to the media and he's telling them that the feds targeted James St. Patrick because he was black and he was a successful businessman. And, and the system is always trying to hold the brothers down. So while he's talking to the reporter on air, John rushes into the conference room and turns on the TV, for the Keystone cops that seem to always be in that dang old conference room talking about something. And so he's like, they're making a fool out of us. They're playing the race card and none of us are even black. And so just like, really, John? And then Cooper, he speaks up and he goes, well, actually, I am white and I'm kind of proud of it, but I'm not a racist. And then he says that but I do have a black friend. And then he points over to the bald head guy, Donovan. And he says we could use Donovan as our Christopher Darden and get him to go out and speak to the media. And so the Donovan guy was like, no, I don't want to be in front of the media. And just like, do these people be acting like this, like for real? Because they are like a calamity of errors. I don't know how in the world any of them got into the positions that they're in. So then they decide that they're going to go before the judge and ask them to put a gag order against Proctor. But the judge is like, no, you need to get in the game and meet Proctor on the same level that he's on, because I'm not getting involved in this foolishness. I'm not issuing a gag order and I'm getting ready to go to lunch. So I need y'all to get up out of my office. So now, they got to get together and come up with something to use against Ghost. Then we move over to Tasha, and she's at home, dealing with the kids. And Tariq, he's on 100, needing to be knocked the hell down. But, Tasha's still trying to play, like she's June Cleaver, and she's the perfect mom, and they don't get violent with their kids. But she's going to have to jack that little boy up. And so she has her work cut out for her, and she's telling the kids, not to mention the name Ghost, and don't talk about their dad, in front of people and everything. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't be even having a conversation in that house. As a matter of fact, I've been moved out that house and moved into another apartment or something, because after those feds came through, I would be so paranoid that they left some listening devices in the house that I would be scared to speak. But I'm thinking maybe Tasha swept the apartment, for bugs or something when she was in there cleaning up, because, she's talking freely in her house. And I mentioned on my last video that they are just so open with everything that they're doing, and for them to be under investigation, the feds are really dropping the ball as far as surveillance and all of that is coming. So I can understand why they don't have a case and why they haven't arrested anybody, for the actual drug activity. Later, Tasha takes the kids to school and they're sitting in the car talking, and she's reminding them, don't talk about ghosts and don't talk about their dad. And Tariq is still acting the doggone fool and smelling himself. So when Raina gets out of the car, then Tasha tried to get a little hard with Tariq and basically telling him he needs to stop being so hard and disrespectful, and that the dad is innocent and everything is going to be okay. And then she starts, trying to talk to him about the slim guy, and she slips in, about Kanan. But before she could get a reaction from Tariq, she looked out the window and realized that there was a photographer taking pictures of them. So she jumps out the car, goes and confronts the guy, so all the white teachers and the rich white moms, they're looking like, oh my God, what is she doing? And the photographer kept taking pictures. This thing I know, Tasha had to grab that camera and threw it on the ground and broke it. And then Tariq gonna get out the car talking about, well, you're setting a good example. And I just want to just snatch him, just beat his behind. But he got his day coming. So Tariq goes inside the school, and when he gets inside, I think it was 3 white boys approached him, and they was like, oh, so that gun you brought to school, was that the gun that your dad used to kill the federal agent? And then Tariq said, maybe. So I had to give him a couple of points for that one, because that was a good comeback, so the guys got scared and they walked off. And then Raina was like, why did you do that? Mom told you don't talk about dad, and, you're changing. So she walks off because she fed up with Tariq. So then Tariq goes and calls Kanan, and talking about, he hates his dad and he's sick of all this, so Kanan tells him, you got to play the role, go see your dad, because that's what Tasha was talking to him about in the car, was that Ghost wanted them to come visit, so they had to go, and Tariq was saying he didn't want to go. So Kanan was telling him, go ahead and go and act like you're concerned and that you miss him, play the role so they don't think anything is going on. So later, Kanan and Tariq, they meet up, and he's showing Tariq how you break into an apartment door or a house door using a credit card. And I'm thinking like, Lord, that was the last thing we need to see on television, because now we're going to have more kids out here thinking that they can just go and break into people's homes and apartments using a credit card. So Tariq, he was all anxious to ask Kanan, was Slim to him, but to ask him, does he know anything about a guy named Kanan? And so then Kanan told her, said, oh, he's dead. You ain't got to worry about him. And I'm thinking, dang, Tariq, why would you do that? So now Kanan thinks that it was Dre who is talking to Tariq about Kanan. So he goes and sees Dre and beats Dre up, and then threatens to kill Dre. And then Dre is like, I didn't say anything. And then, I'm giving you money to stay away from Tariq. Why you still hanging out with him? And then Kanan lets him know, man, you done told so many lies. Nobody likes you. You don't have any more friends. So now you got to pay me to keep you alive, because everybody want to kill you. And I'm like, oh my God, all this infighting going on. Like, how is anybody safe? How does anybody walk down the street, get up in the morning, and don't fear for their life on this show is beyond me. So then we move over to Keisha. Keisha shows up at Tommy's, bamming on the door. Bam, bam, bam. So she wants to confront Tommy, about him saying that her business was safe and she doesn't have anything to worry about. And she lets him know that she was at Tasha's place when the feds came in and raided the joint. And so she wants their names off her business. So Tommy lets her know, that's not going to happen. Plus Ghost's name wasn't on her business. It was just him and Tasha. And with Tasha, being on the investigation, they're going to be tracing their finances and everything. So it'll be suspicious if all of a sudden Tasha takes her name off of the business, then that will just draw more attention to the beauty salon. And so then Keisha was sitting on the sofa and Tommy was behind her. And then she started saying, well, I'm just concerned about my son. I don't want him to be all involved in this and anything to happen to him. And, Tommy, you don't understand because you don't have any kids. And so Tommy had just looked like, girl, you don't even understand, but he swallowed it down and, put on the good face. And then he went over to her and, was massaging her on the back and letting her know that he had a bike and he wasn't going to let nothing happen to her. And, he was going to protect her and take care of her. And I'm like, okay, we see you, Tommy. We know you want some Keisha. So I guess this is your inroads into getting what you really want from Keisha. So Tommy goes to visit Julio and he learns that some of the people, I think it was a guy named Christopher, I think it's his name, they're nervous and everything about Ghost being out of the picture and they don't think Tommy can hold his weight. So Tommy says that, he'll handle it and get them back on track. But then, Julio is like, oh, no, man, let me take care of it. You're too hot at the moment. Then Julio, he's asked Tommy about Ghost and, what all's going on. So you can tell that everybody is getting on Tommy's nerves at this point. So Julio said that he was worried about Ghost, because he owes so much to Ghost. Ghost has done so much for him. And then Tommy is like, yeah, I know the whole story. Like, do you want a conjugal visit or something? And then Julio looked at him like, damn, man, you got to be like that. And then Tommy crazy but told Julio that he's familiar with the touching story between him and Ghost, but right now he's just waiting to get to the chapter where Julio shut the fuck up. I was like, when he said that, I watched the show at like midnight. I'm laying in the bed with my tablet watching the show, and when he said that, I was like, oh my God, Tommy is crazy. So Julio, he don't have the support in the organization, and, he goes to visit the Christopher guy and talk to him about the situation, but he get punked out by this guy named Domingo who hits one of his guys in the face. So then when Tommy finds out, he's livid, and so he says, he got to take care of the situation and let them know on the streets that just because Ghost is locked up, that, they still on top of their game and they not the ones to play with. But before he goes to take care of Domingo, he decides to stop by Keisha's place to release some frustration. So I guess these two been waiting on the other to make the first move, but here they are alone because Keisha's son is off with his cousin and she got on this little short dress and she looked like she waiting on Tommy. So, Tommy, he got on up in there and knocked it out. I thought it was a little cheesy and tykey that they couldn't even go to the bedroom, that they stood right there in the kitchen in front of the front door and he banged her on the kitchen counter, but it is what it is. So then, I guess it was later on or the following morning. I don't know if he spent the night or not because they was in the living room on the sofa and he was putting his shirt back on. But anyway, he asked Keisha, has she ever played in the snow before? She said no, because you never know how many inches you're going to get. And then Tommy told her, okay, well, you done messed around and played in the snow and ended up with a blizzard. I don't think of that, Tommy. We done seen you walking around with them underwear on, and we know you ain't piking like that. But if you put a smile on Keisha's face, that's all that matters, I guess. So Keisha, instead of her just being happy that she finally got Tommy where she wanted him, she wants to say that keep it a secret because, Tasha takes everything that I have. She done took my shop. She took Sean away from me. And then Tommy was like, she took Sean away from you. Yeah, she knew I was messing with Sean and she couldn't stand it, so she took him from me. And I'm just like, really, Keisha, you gonna play Tasha like that? Like, I thought that was your own girl. But anyway, poor Tommy, he done got rid of Holly, couldn't be happy with Holly, and now he got another woman that's, not really there 100% for him, and all he really wants is to have what Ghost wanted with Tasha, and he just don't seem to be able to get that. So looks like Keisha maybe one other level of stress in Tommy's life as he's trying to maneuver these dangerous streets while Ghost is locked up. Then we have a scene over at the club, you know, where everything is popping because, you know, Dre has showed the employees how they were going to run the drugs. So basically, the people order 2 bottles of champagne, but they give them 1 bottle of champagne and then this matchbook that's full of pills. And then the people are sitting over there taking the pills and drinking the champagne in the club. And so he's just like on a natural high as he's watching like all the money that they're making off the champagne and selling these drugs. And he's just like, oh, you know, like, I can't believe this is my life. I'm running things. I'm in charge. And so I'm like, boy, don't get too full of yourself. Because, you know, there's a whole lot of killing. Y'all remember when The Wire was on and Stringer Bell, who's played by Idris Elba, had Avon's nephew murdered while he was in prison. And then when he told Avon the truth, he told Avon that, you know, some people just need killing. Well, on Power, there's a whole bunch of people that's going to need killing. Because I'm thinking, like, Dre might have to be killed. Julio, I love Julio to death, but I'm thinking Tommy might have to kill Julio, and then Tommy might have to kill Keisha too. It's just a whole, and then we know Angela need to be killed. So it's just a whole bunch of people on this show that we can really see get knocked off for different reasons by different people. So Dre, you better watch out, watch your back, watch your back. So that the following day, the feds show up with a search warrant, and while they're there, Sandoval places a gun. He plants the gun because remember he was the one that actually killed Knox. So he plants the murder weapon in, there was like a bar in Ghost's office, and he plants it in there, and then he sneaks out, and then the other guys come in, and then they just so happen to go to the same spot that he had planted the gun in. And I'm just like, wow. And then Dre standing there looking all shocked and surprised, but I'm sitting there like, you let the fool sneak upstairs. Like, he played you talking about go turn off the surveillance. I think he asked for the cameras, and then he said he had to go turn off the surveillance equipment, and he was like, oh yeah, go ahead and turn it off. And I'm like, Dre, did you really turn off the surveillance equipment? Like, are we gonna have some evidence to come back and prove that they planted the gun in there? Whew, y'all just team messy. Now that they have the gun, John goes before the grand jury and gets an indictment, and the Bella, you know, he must be a connect for Proctor because Proctor was outside, and then all of a sudden somebody named Charlie started texting him and telling him, you know, basically that the grand jury had decided to indict. Back at the office, Angela's acting all shocked, you know, that they found the gun, and now she wants to help prove that Tommy is Ghost, because I can't believe that they still think that Tommy is actually Ghost and that they're trying to use the real Ghost, you know, as a way to get the Tommy. So like I say, they are just so stupid. I can't believe that any of them are federal agents. So Tommy and Proctor meet, and he lets Tommy know that he really needs to go somewhere and sit down and chill the hell out because Angela is coming for him. And Tommy threatens Proctor that if he gets arrested, that he's going to kill him. And for the first time, I seen Proctor look like he is scared as hell because I guess he know that Tommy is crazy. So then he left Proctor and went to deal with the Domingo guy, because remember he was the one that when Julio went to meet with Christopher that hit the other guy in the eye. So Tommy, like they just told you 5 minutes ago to get somewhere and sit down. So Tommy, the guy, Domingo, is getting in his car. Tommy pulls a gun on, tell the guy to get out and go run down the street. So then Tommy goes after the guy, then ends up running over the guy. Then he backs up and runs back over the guy and then stops with the tire on the guy's leg. And so he's telling the guy, you know, to be nice and say, please get off my leg. And then whatever he did, it just like when he sped off in the guy's car, he had to just broke the man's leg. It was turned all sideways and it was all bust open to the white meat. And I'm just like, Tommy, please stop. Just stop. So Tommy and his mom comes over, and as crazy as their relationship is, I really like their chemistry on the show. So I guess Tommy isn't as dumb as we think he is because he gave his car to his mom. So I guess she'll be riding all over town with the police tracking behind her. But, you know, let's go back to the writing, because normally when they put a tracking device on you, isn't there like a surveillance van that's telling you at all times? So I'm thinking when the mom came down and got in the car, shouldn't the feds have been able to see her getting in the car and know that it wasn't Tommy? Because as soon as she drove off, then a SUV pulled up. So Tommy had bought a new SUV because when the guy, it was one of the black guys, I can't remember the names, the two that hang out with Julio all the time. So he was driving the SUV and he got on the passenger side, and when Tommy got in, Tommy was like, I need my change back. So now Tommy, he just can't leave those streets alone and lay low. So we don't know what's going to happen with that situation. So then Proctor goes to give Ghost the bad news and breaks down the whole Clinton drug kingpin law. Because you remember that drug kingpin law went into effect as part of the Clinton's administration's war on drugs. And basically what it says is that if you're part of a drug organization, they can charge you with the RICO Act, which is racketeering. And that if somebody dies in the commission of your organization, so like if you hire a hit on one of your workers, on a customer, if there's any murder that can be tied back to the drug business, they can then seek the death penalty. And one of the first cases that was actually held under that law was from here in St. Petersburg, and the guy was charged with like 6 counts of murder, but by the time it went to court, I think overall he had 34 charges, and 6 of them I think were murder charges, but they ended up dropping all of the murder charges and he ended up with life in prison. And I'm not sure how many drug kingpins have actually been prosecuted and convicted under that law, and if any of them have ever received the death penalty. And if you guys remember, like in the last year that President Obama was in office and he was commuting sentences for all those drug dealers, well, all of those people that he was commuting their sentences for were actually low men in these drug organizations who had gotten these really harsh penalties because they wouldn't turn state's evidence against the drug kingpin. And so he was commuting those sentences and letting those people go. So then Ghost, you know, he was like, oh, they're going to try and get me to flip on Tommy. And then I guess Proctor is really, really scared of Tommy, because he actually insinuated that if they offered Ghost a deal, that he should consider taking it and going against Tommy and putting all this on Tommy. And I'm sitting there like, are you crazy? And the second that Tommy finds out, you're going to be one more person that's going to be on the list of people that need to die on this show. And so Proctor lets Ghost know that this whole thing is out of his realm of expertise and that he's never won a case like this. So he's going to end up having to bring somebody else in to help them when they go to court. And so, like I say, I guess Tommy really got Proctor spooked, because he was looking real nervous and shaking and looking like a ghost himself. Then Angela, you know, she wants to tell Sandoval that she questions, that she has questions about the gun and how they found the gun, and she can't believe that James would have had that gun in the club. And so Sandoval is basically like, girl, don't worry about it. You know, we got this. We're going to handle this. And then Cooper came in and said that, you know, they got the death penalty. You know, that the judge had agreed to try it under the kingpin rule. And so Angela, you know, she looking like she could have died right there herself, because now she realized, you know, she was being all jealous and petty and trying to control things. And now she done created this situation where this man might lose his life. And so they're, you know, slowly squeezing her out of the case altogether, because she asked if she could go into the strategy session that they were getting ready to have. And they were like, oh, no, we'll keep you up to date. So, girl, they done used you and played you for a fool, and now they get ready to toss you aside. So then the scene goes to Proctor and Ghost, and I guess he's coming back to tell Ghost, you know, about the death penalty being on the table. And they never say anything, but they're just like looking at each other, and you can tell that Ghost knows exactly what's going on. Then the scene goes over to Tasha, and she's, you know, preparing dinner for the kids when the phone rings, and she answers the phone. And I can't remember if they showed who was on the phone, but whoever was on the phone, they were telling her that they were going to seek the death penalty. And her expression was like, oh my gosh, she could have died right then. And then it goes back to the jail, and that dang Charlie Murphy, who, God bless the dead. So he's escorting Ghost back to his cell, you know, but he's taking his time and got his hand on Ghost's shoulder, and he's telling him, you know, what it's going to be like when he dies from lethal injection, and how people tell you that it's quick and swift, but it's really not, because he know one guy that it took 45 minutes for him to die, and he's telling them, like, you know, the drugs go into your body and you're feeling real hot and all these things happen to your internal organs, and then you don't really die from the drugs, you actually die from a massive heart attack. And I'm just like, okay. So anyway, Tasha goes over to see Angela to confront her, and I just really hate Angela, and y'all know I need Angela Must Die to be trending on Twitter, like I said last week, because Angela, like, despite it all and everything that's going on, she just has this arrogance about her. And so when Tasha was saying that, you know, James would never kill anybody, and that he had never mentioned Greg Knox before, you know, it was like Angela couldn't wait to tell her, oh, that was my boyfriend, and Jamie was jealous. And I just wanted, like, Tasha, please don't go back to Angela's apartment. Please don't confront her again until you are ready to slap the hell out of her, and you and Keisha are about to beat her ass. Don't say nothing else to her. Don't ask her nothing. Just wait for that moment when you done had enough and you just ready to put your foot in her behind. That's the last time I need you to be talking to Angela again, because she always make you look like a fool, and then you walking away looking dumb because she knows more than you know, and you're realizing that you didn't know Ghost at all. So please stop embarrassing yourself. So the show ends with Ghost calling Tommy, you know, to let him know that they're seeking the death penalty for him. And then, you know, they have like a little tender moment where it's like, brother this, brother that. And then James says that he has a favor that he needs to ask of Tommy. And Tommy says, whatever, you know, I'll do anything. And he tells him to please take care of his family. And I'm just like, aww. So it was a good episode, guys. You know, let me know what you think is going to happen coming up. Let me know if I forgot anything in the recap. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.